Aliens scoffed at human legends, then a marine made them real. They called themselves the Concordium of the Infinite Species, a coalition of hundreds of intelligent civilizations who had long since abandoned myths, emotion, and war. To them, enlightenment was found in logic, order, and balance. When humanity joined their ranks, the Concordium treated Earth as an infant race. They studied humans with clinical curiosity, primitive mammals who still fought wars, still believed in stories, and still cried over fiction. At the summit halls of Clithra Prime, humans were politely tolerated. Their diplomats spoke earnestly, but their words always drew that same subtle alien smile, the one reserved for children who still believe in fairy tales. And no tale baffled the Concordium more than human legends. They studied the archives of Earth's mythologies: Hercules, Beowulf, Joan of Arc, Gilgamesh, King Arthur, Mulan, and Achilles. To them, these stories were absurd. No other species would immortalize reckless bravery, doomed love, or the defiance of gods. The Vor, whose culture worshipped efficiency, found Achilles' wrath childish. The Seraph, who lived in perfect collective unity, could not fathom individual heroism. The Kalan, beings of pure logic, laughed aloud when told that humans still wrote poetry about courage and death. "Why," asked the Seraph chorus once, "would you glorify struggle when you could design peace?" No human could answer in a way that satisfied them. Until war came. The Carith Dominion struck first, an empire outside Concordium law, whose fleets burned worlds with cold efficiency. The Concordium, untested for centuries, was paralyzed. Their fleets debated while colonies burned. Humanity, however, volunteered. Not as diplomats. As soldiers. And among them was Corporal Elias Monroe, a Marine whose unit was assigned to the Concordium front line on the moon of the Ros 9, a world of obsidian plains and red storms. When the Carith came, their bombardment shattered the horizon. Concordium forces fled in organized retreat. But Monroe's platoon stayed behind to defend a field outpost, protecting alien engineers trying to evacuate wounded civilians. The odds were impossible. 12 humans against hundreds of Carith mechs. When the Seraph overseer demanded withdrawal, Monroe just grinned beneath his helmet and said, "If the legends were true, somebody had to start them." And then they fought. The aliens watched through orbiting drones. They saw the humans fire until ammunition ran dry. They saw them pick up fallen weapons, fight hand to hand, and refuse to surrender even when surrounded. Monroe led the charge, half-blinded by plasma burns, voice raw, rallying his dying squad with a line stolen from an ancient Terran film. "Hold the line." When the last human fell, the Carith commander, curious, ordered the battlefield scanned. No prisoners, no fear. Only blood and smoke. And one Marine's hand clutching the banner of the evacuation convoy. Against logic, against probability, the aliens had escaped. The Concordium retrieved the recordings. They analyzed them with disbelief. The Seraph thought it madness. The Vor called it wasteful. The Kalan simply said, there was no mathematical path to success. But the Sera, a philosopher species of translucent skin and golden eyes, whispered something different. Perhaps their myths were not lies. Perhaps they were, practice. The story of the Ros 9 Marines spread like a virus. Every world in the Concordium replayed the footage. Billions watched one small platoon hold back a storm and die without hesitation. The recordings were dissected in universities, sermons, and military academies. Why would they fight when logic demanded retreat? What force could drive a being to choose certain death, and yet die smiling? The answers eluded the alien mind. Until the Concordium's Grand Assembly invited the Terran ambassador to speak. She stood before 1,000 alien delegates and said simply, "Because that's what we've always done. Our legends aren't history. They're memory, reminders of what we can be when there's no reason left to hope. We tell stories of Hercules, Beowulf, Mulan, and Achilles not because they were perfect, but because they show us that even mortals can challenge the impossible. And sometimes, we need to remember that, especially when the universe tells us to give up. Silence filled the hall. The Seraph chorus murmured, the Kalan blinked in thought, and the Vor lowered their metallic crests, a gesture of respect. The Concordium's understanding shifted that day. They began to study human myths not as delusion, but as discipline. Years passed. The Kareth War dragged on. On the frozen planet of Rain Delta, Concordium forces, alien and human alike, made a final stand. 100 species fought side by side, following strategies inspired by human history itself. One Seraph commander invoked the Spartans at Thermopylae. A Vor tactician, once dismissive, adapted the Trojan horse. Even the logical Kalan adopted a saying, victory favors those who refuse to die. The Concordium won that battle. Barely. But something greater than victory was born, a shared mythology. After the war, the Seraph philosopher wrote. In the end, the humans gave us something no weapon ever could, the courage to believe in the impossible. Their legends are not relics. They are blueprints for the soul. Centuries later, long after Monroe's death, the Concordium built a memorial on the Ros 9. It was a stone circle, an ancient Terran symbol, under alien stars. Around it stood statues of the 12 Marines, each inscribed not with rank or number, but with words from old Earth myths, honor, defiance, love, sacrifice, hope. On the largest stone was carved a quote attributed to Monroe himself, recovered from his final audio log. We don't fight because we think we'll win. We fight because someone has to show the universe what believing looks like. The aliens never scoffed at human legends again. Because they understood, finally, humans don't create myths to remember gods. They create myths to become them. And somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, where the stars still whisper of war and peace, alien fleets carry banners painted with an old Terran motto, once a simple marine phrase, now a galactic creed. Hold the line.